Ce jour de septembre 2001, 19 hommes ont décidé de mourir et d'entraîner dans leur suicide des milliers de victimes civiles.
The agony of a mother caught up in a tragedy she still barely comprehends. Aisha El-Wafi sits transfixed by an endless stream of reality TV, starring her son, Zacharias Moussaoui.
2 jours plus tard, le nom d'un autre suspect, un Français, Zacharias Moussaoui, est rendu public.
Arrested a month before the attack, the Americans allege he intended to be the 20th hijacker. When Zacharias' trial starts next year, prosecutors will call for his execution. Aisha acknowledges he's an Islamic extremist, but claims he was radicalised by the discrimination and racism that all French Muslims must endure.
On est rejeté de la société française parce qu'ils ne donnent pas l'occasion de... C'est les Français, c'est la société qui n'intègre pas les gens, c'est pas les gens qui ne veulent pas s'intégrer.
Moussaoui's arrest has sharpened debate on an increasingly sensitive issue, Islam's place in French society. France's 4.5 million Muslims constitute 8% of the population. Proportionally, it's now the largest Islamic community in the West and growing fast.
Islam is by far the second largest religion in France. There are more Muslims in France than there are Muslims in Tunisia or in Jordan. If we fail further to integrate, if we fail to create an atmosphere in which a moderate, tolerant Muslim society blossom in France, yes, there will be more Moussaoui.
Marseille may be in France, but its heart lies in the former French colonies of North Africa, the Maghreb. Beyond the postcard visage of the harbour lies a tough cosmopolitan city with a violent reputation, where drugs are traded in the street as openly as vegetables. It's a town where most simply struggle to get by in life and to pray to their God in peace. 1 in 4 people here are Muslim, of Algerian, Moroccan, Tunisian or West African descent. But Marseille features few signs of their faith. And nothing in Sohib Ben Sheikh's appearance gives any hint that he's one of the nation's Islamic leaders, the Grand Mufti of Marseille.
L'islam est une religion qui ne précise pas un habit spécial. Et il faut absolument épouser son siècle et ne pas être marginal avec son siècle.
And as this theology graduate of France's elite Sorbonne University heads for Friday prayers, something is clearly missing from the Marseille skyline. There's not a single dedicated mosque in the entire city. Here, the faithful gather in ad hoc prayer halls, such as this converted shop, spilling out onto the footpaths and gutters.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
For decades, authorities have ignored requests to build mosques, conveniently citing a century-old law prohibiting government from endorsing or financing religious institutions. For the Grand Mufti, his faith and people have been rendered invisible.
A été causé par une langue politique qui était frileuse par rapport à l'islam et d'une manière maladive ou complètement pathologique. On croyait si on pousse l'islam vers l'invisibilité, c'est comme il n'existe pas, c'est comme il n'existait pas.
Muslims pray in a French republic built upon the ideals of liberty, equality, fraternity. In return, they're expected to totally integrate in a state with zero official tolerance of multiculturalism. And this, according to one of the nation's leading social policy advisors, is the core of the problem.
Since they are French citizens, we negate them the right to be different. This is where the multiculturalism of the American experience is really a plus, which was refused by France. They want to be different. We want them to be like us.
What is the reality here?
Well, the reality is of a land of great inequality. You may succeed if you are a Muslim, but it's going to be very difficult for you.
And for many Marseille Muslims, that difficult life starts here, in one of the city's 20 public housing estates. Most were hastily erected in the early 1960s for Algerians who fled the bitter war of independence from France. The government kept hoping the Arabs would eventually go home, but they never did. Instead, they took out French citizenship and now raise families amid the slow decay.
Regardez, ils jouent dehors, ils sont assis, ils s'ennuient, ils s'emmerdent. Quand tu t'emmerdes comme ça, à cet âge, tu restes là. Moi, je suis passé par là. Tous les jours, tu restes là. Toujours, tu regardes le bâtiment. Toujours, tu regardes. Après, ça te monte à la tête. Et quand ça te monte à la tête, tu connais rien. Tu es incontrôlable. Tu as envie de faire des conneries. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il n'y a pas de jeu.
Karim is a community mediator at the Felix Piat estate, where 7,000 people endure a squalor intended for only 4,000. It's largely a no-go zone for police and essential services. Karim inhabits a parallel universe, more Middle Eastern war zone than metropolitan France. It's used as an illegal garbage dump by city businesses.
C'est la merde. Les petits, vous savez, ils jouent dans la merde. Ils jouent. Des maladies, il y a le choléra, il y a plein de bactéries. Pourquoi? Pourtant, c'est Marseille. Ça fait partie de la ville. Je comprends pas. Je suis trop... J'en peux plus, j'en peux plus. Hein? Pourquoi il n'envoie pas ces camions de poubelle là qui nettoient? Pourquoi? Pourquoi on n'est pas des citoyens, nous? On est quoi, des animaux?
Official figures are vague, but according to one reliable estimate, half of France's unemployed are Muslim, and half the jail population is defined as being of foreign origin.
Il y a des gros problèmes. Tu cherches du travail, tu ne trouves pas. Tu cherches un appartement, tu ne trouves pas. Tu veux quitter le pays, tu n'y arrives pas. Je sais pas. Il y a quoi? Tu as la drogue, tu voles. C'est ça qu'ils veulent. Ils veulent te détruire.
Authorities are finally attempting repairs. The lifts work for the first time in 20 years. Power and water supplies are becoming more reliable. But as a gesture, such efforts come too late. The perception here is of a government simply building a better cage. The project manager is accused of ignoring a request to repair the flat of this elderly pensioner.
Quant au problème de M. Fessal, le problème de M. Fessal, c'est que sa maman n'a aucun papier sur le territoire français.
Allez au commissariat, faites-le écouter.
Vous pouvez arrêter de filmer, s'il vous plaît, monsieur? S'il vous plaît.
Allez au commissariat.
Excusez-moi.
Allez au commissariat.
We're ushered into Mr. Faisal's apartment, which he shares with his 84-year-old mother. For this, he pays the equivalent of $450 a month.
Je suis asthmatique, moi. J'ai 69 ans, j'ai la machine à oxygène, toute la nuit, oxygène. Ma mère, elle est diabétique, est paralysée, ne peut pas marcher. Moi, je lui donne à manger.
The bitterness, heightened by a perception that while born in France, they're still regarded as foreigners, nothing more than a burden to the state.
Je suis français, de nationalité.
That's your card. And how long has your mother been here?
60 ans.
And they still won't come and work on your apartment because your mother's not considered French?
C'est une excuse.
The estate is plugged into its own version of reality. The pirated satellite dishes all face Arab TV, which serves up a steady diet of jihad and intifada. In a perverse way, September 11 provided a focus for youths without purpose. Young French Arabs who once identified as Algerian or Moroccan now view themselves simply as followers of Islam.
On est obligé d'être... Heureusement qu'il y a la religion, parce que s'il n'y a pas la religion, c'est un carnage. Heureusement, il y a la religion, elle nous dresse vers le bon chemin. Malgré ce qu'il y a là, malgré dans quoi on vit, on est toujours vers le bon Dieu et toujours vers le bien. Toujours, toujours. Malgré le mal qu'ils nous font, eh ben on va vers le bien, nous. On s'en fout de ce qu'ils nous font.
This extreme minority is allowed to blossom because there is such dissatisfaction, such humiliation, such resentment with the failure to fully penetrate French society.
2 hours' drive from the squalor of Marseille lies the world of Zacharias Moussaoui. France's most infamous fundamentalist was not a product of the ghetto, but of this mainly white middle-class town. His mother, Aisha, moved here to Narbonne more than 20 years ago. A Moroccan migrant, an abandoned mother with 4 young children, she was determined her family would succeed, far from the tensions of the ghetto.
À trouver tout. Moi, j'ai travaillé dur pour faire tout pour mes enfants. Et c'est pas donné. Je n'ai jamais été avoir une assistante sociale. J'ai jamais demandé de l'aide à personne.
Aisha bought a house and progressed from cleaning lady to administrator for French Telecom, all for a better life for her 2 daughters and her sons, Zacharias and Abd Samad.
De lui, quand j'étais avec mes enfants, quand ils étaient petits, je travaillais 8 heures par jour. Mais quand on est ensemble et qu'ils étaient dans cette place-là et qu'ils jouaient, qu'ils rigolaient, moi j'étais la plus heureuse au monde. On va rentrer à la cave.
Zacharias' thing is up here.
Zacharias, il a joué ici, oui.
Under the house lies the typical bric-a-brac of childhood and the teenage rites of passage.
Là, c'est un truc que, voilà, regardez par exemple, ça c'est Bob Marley. C'était le préféré de Zachary. Elle chantait toujours avec lui, il était...
Did he smoke pot as well?
Ouais, ouais. Il a fumé les pétards, il a sorti avec des filles, ils ont... Tous les deux, il n'y a pas que Zachary. Tous les deux qui savent...
Aisha says her son's dreams had faded by the time they were in their early 20s. Zacharias and Abd Samad were well educated and middle class, but there were no jobs for young Arabs in a white town.
Et à partir du moment qu'ils sont rejetés, ils trouvent les gens qui savent parler de l'islam et parler de dire, tu vois, tu es français, tu es né en France, tu as les capacités, tu as fait des études, mais on ne t'a pas donné l'occasion d'être un Français par entière.
Zacharias moved to London and embraced the radical Islam of the Wahhabi sect of Saudi Arabia. Aisha claims her other son, Abd Samad, joined a local fundamentalist group and broke off all contact because she refuses to wear traditional Islamic dress.
Mais lui, il dit que une femme qui ne porte pas le foulard, c'est pas une bonne musulmane. Eh bien, d'abord, je me sens brisée et détruite à l'intérieur parce que moi, je les aime malgré ça. Malgré tout ça, je les aime quand même.
And if Aisha is to be believed, this is the face of French fundamentalist Islam. Her eldest son, Abd Samad Moussaoui. She claims his Western urbane exterior conceals a militant soul. Abd Samad reluctantly agrees to meet us at a local hotel.
N'importe quel individu, lorsqu'il va avoir une discussion avec un musulman,
He's written a book condemning his brother's actions, but refuses to be drawn on his mother's criticisms.
ça m'attriste beaucoup, ça attriste beaucoup la famille. C'est quelque chose qu'on ne comprend pas, mais c'est ma mère.
But what he does offer is an apocalyptic view on the future of Islam in France.
Et d'un autre côté, si on laisse, si on veut enfermer la communauté musulmane dans un ghetto, eh ben, on va laisser se développer le racisme, la xénophobie, l'indifférence, qui peut amener à une situation, comparable à la situation yougoslave. Pour moi, on est pris entre deux extrêmes.
For many, this is the vision splendid of cosmopolitan France. But it's not the view of Jean-Marie Le Pen, leader of France's extreme right-wing National Front. He sees a nation in danger of being swamped by Islam, runaway immigration and Arab crime. Like so many of his generation, Le Pen fought and lost against the Algerians in their war of independence from France. A humiliating defeat that even today weighs heavily on the national psyche and French-Arab relations.
Le racisme le plus grave en France, c'est le racisme anti-français. Car dans beaucoup de quartiers, les Français, surtout de pauvres, sont les victimes de l'immigration étrangère et de l'attitude agressive d'un certain nombre d'immigrés étrangers, notamment les jeunes. Nous estimons que nous avons des droits supérieurs à être dans notre propre pays. Il a été créé par ceux qui nous ont précédés, par leurs efforts, leur travail, leurs sacrifices, leurs souffrances. Nous sommes chez nous.
While Le Pen provides a rallying point for anti-Muslim sentiment, France's Islamic community remains highly fragmented. One solution is this proposed Grand Mosque of Marseille, intended as a unifying symbol to draw followers of this diverse faith together. Many prayer halls are controlled by fundamentalists, and nearly all are directly funded by Arab states such as Algeria and Saudi Arabia. This model represents one solution: build a grand mosque funded by the community and placed under the control of the moderate Mufti, so as to erode the hardliners' power base.
Il y avait malheureusement une succession de choses négatives qui se rejoignent entre elles, rend ces jeunes musulmans souvent vulnérables devant la tentation d'être extrémistes. Dieu merci, ce n'est pas le cas de la majorité.
For young Muslims such as Kadir, our guide through the housing projects, the chasm between his world and the good life of white France grows ever wider. He takes us on a hidden camera tour of Marseille's nightclubs, where Arabs are inevitably rejected. While dozens of white kids are invited in, Kadir is told he needs a reservation.
Alors, la vraie raison, c'est parce que je suis, comme on dit en France ici, un beurre, un arabe.
And it's from such relatively minor humiliations that the seeds of anger continue to grow.
Ben, ça devient tout simplement appartement, emploi, boîte de nuit. Ça devient une vie très très sombre. Et ensuite, ça devient, il garde tout dans le cœur et ça devient une bombe à retardement.
French authorities estimate this disillusionment drove more than 300 of their nationals from these streets to the Al-Qaeda terrorist camps of Afghanistan.
The number of people who were raised in France and who were trained in terrorist camps in Afghanistan and other places is quite spectacular. In fact, their anger grew in France. This is a failure of the West. They may hate America, but they hate America after living in the French part of the West.
Perhaps it's not so remarkable that France spawned Zacharias Moussaoui. What's more extraordinary in this state that tolerates such subtle yet systematic discrimination is that Kadir and the vast majority of young French Muslims have so far refused to travel down the dangerous road to extremism.